Welcome to AI News in 10, your top AI and tech news podcast in about 10 minutes. AI tech is amazing and is changing the world fast. For example, this entire podcast is curated and generated by AI using my and my kids' cloned voices. Here's what's on deck today. A potential mega deal that could reshape AI's compute map. Amazon is reportedly in talks to invest more than $10 billion in OpenAI and to supply chips and cloud capacity. OpenAI, meanwhile, just tapped former UK Chancellor George Osborne to lead a new program called OpenAI for Countries and to help expand the massive Stargate data center initiative globally. Over in fintech, Google is pushing deeper into India with a new UPI-linked credit card built into Google Pay. In banking, Britain's regulator is watching closely as major banks pilot Agentic AI, autonomous software that can plan and act on customers' behalf. And in chipland, a Chinese AI chipmaker called MetaX had a blockbuster IPO in Shanghai, rocketing roughly 700% on day one. But first, let's hear a word from our sponsors.
Need elite developers fast? Elite Coders connects you with rigorously vetted senior engineers in 24 to 48 hours. Staff augmentation, dedicated teams, or full project delivery, we've got you covered. Visit elitecoders.co to get started today.
Now, let's dive into today's stories. Let's start with Amazon and OpenAI. Multiple outlets report Amazon is in early-stage talks to invest more than $10 billion in OpenAI, potentially valuing the ChatGPT maker north of $500 billion. The strategic piece is as important as the cash. OpenAI would expand its use of Amazon's Trainium chips and AWS data centers, diversifying away from a single vendor GPU stack. There's one wrinkle. Microsoft still holds exclusive rights to sell OpenAI's most advanced models through its cloud, so Amazon's role would be infrastructure and capacity, not model resale. The talks are fluid, but they'd build on OpenAI's 7-year, $38 billion cloud commitment to Amazon announced earlier this fall. If it lands, the deal would echo the industry's circular funding loop. Clouds invest in model companies that then buy even more cloud. A quick reality check on why this matters. Compute is the oxygen of modern AI, and the top model labs are racing to secure everything from NVIDIA accelerators to custom silicon. Broadening to Trainium and other vendors, plus multiple clouds, spreads risk, taps additional energy footprints, and may lower the effective cost of training as workloads scale. Investors love the total addressable market story, but they worry about sustainability. A big-ticket Amazon and OpenAI tie-up would signal that hyperscalers still believe the demand curve justifies multi-billion-dollar capacity bets. Next up, OpenAI's government playbook just got a high-profile operator. The company named former UK Finance Minister George Osborne as managing director to lead OpenAI for Countries, overseeing partnerships with national governments and the international build-out of Stargate, its umbrella for next-generation AI data centers, now described as a $500 billion program over the coming years. Osborne starts in January and is slated to represent OpenAI at the World Economic Forum in Davos. A reminder that the model race is increasingly about infrastructure, energy, education, and geopolitics, not just algorithms. Two takeaways here. First, OpenAI is formalizing a go-to-market motion that treats AI as critical national infrastructure, inviting governments into long-horizon partnerships around workforce, research ecosystems, and grid planning. Second, bringing in a former chancellor signals the company expects heavy political navigation, from permitting large data center sites to aligning with national AI strategies and safety regimes. Expect similar public-private roadshows from rivals as governments compete to host compute and talent. Story 3. Google is deepening its push into consumer finance in India with a UPI-linked co-branded credit card called Flex by Google Pay, issued with Axis Bank and running on the domestic RuPay network. It lives right inside Google Pay for sign-up, spend tracking, and bill pay, and it offers a transparent rewards scheme, stars credited per transaction, with each star worth 1 rupee. Google is also rolling out Pocket Money, letting parents grant kids limited, approval-based UPI spending capped monthly, and giving small merchants AI-assisted ad tools inside Google Pay for Business. The backdrop: India's payments rails are world-class, but credit penetration is still relatively low. So embedding credit into dominant UPI apps is a logical next wave for growth. This is consequential for three reasons. One, it puts a big tech front end on India's credit distribution, competing not only with banks but also with e-commerce platforms that already run co-branded cards. Two, it uses the UPI super rail to keep the experience familiar and low friction, which matters for first-time credit users. And three, it's a fresh proving ground for AI in consumer finance, risk models, nudges to pay on time, and merchant-side ad creation, inside an app used by hundreds of millions. If Google can scale responsibly here, expect copycats across emerging markets. Before we continue, here's a quick message from our sponsors.
This episode is brought to you by Family GPT, the AI chat platform actually designed for kids. If your children are curious about ChatGPT, but you're worried about what they might see, Family GPT gives you full parental controls, content filtering, and the ability to align responses with your family's values, whether Christian, Muslim, Jewish, secular, and many more. Monitor every conversation, set usage limits, and let your kids explore AI safely. No ads, no data selling, complete privacy. Sign up free at familygpt.chat. That's familygpt.chat.
All right, let's get back to it. Fourth, the UK's Financial Conduct Authority is sounding both open-minded and cautious as British banks race to roll out Agentic AI, systems that can plan, decide, and execute tasks for customers, like sweeping idle cash into higher yield accounts or dynamically adjusting savings goals. NatWest, Lloyds, and Starling say they're working with the FCA as they prep customer-facing trials that could arrive in earnest in early 2026. The regulator isn't writing new AI rules right now. It plans to lean on existing regimes like the senior managers regime and the consumer duty, while warning about fast-moving, interacting agents amplifying risks, from misinformation to the velocity of behavior similar to a bank run. If agents all react to the same signal, you can feel the pivot from chatbots that answer questions to software that takes action. That's a step change in accountability. Who's on the hook if an agent moves money at the wrong moment, misreads a disclosure, or triggers fees? Banks will need human-in-the-loop designs, audit trails, and circuit breakers. And because agentic AI learns and adapts, model governance can't be a once-a-year checklist. It has to be continuous oversight, testing, and stress scenarios that include many agents interacting across firms. The FCA's stance, sandbox first, enforcement via existing duties, could make the UK a bellwether for how banking regulators everywhere approach AI that does more than chat. Finally, to the chip front and China's capital markets. Shanghai saw a flash of AI chip euphoria as Metex Integrated Circuits, founded by a former AMD executive, surged roughly 700% on its trading debut after raising around $600 million. The pop follows big first-day moves by domestic rivals and spotlights Beijing's push for AI chip self-sufficiency amid US export controls. MetaX still holds a tiny share of China's AI accelerator market, and analysts warn valuations look frothy, yet the message is clear. Local investors are betting heavily that homegrown silicon can close the gap with Nvidia and AMD. If you zoom out, this ties back to the Amazon and OpenAI news. Globally, the AI stack is fragmenting and expanding. More chips, more clouds, more regions trying to anchor compute close to demand. China's IPO heat reflects industrial policy and investor appetite. In the West, hyperscalers and model labs are knitting together multi-vendor, multi-cloud strategies to secure capacity. Everyone's chasing the same scarce inputs: power, land, cooling, and the specialized supply chains to manufacture and package advanced accelerators. That scarcity will continue to shape pricing, product roadmaps, and where AI workloads live. Quick recap. Amazon and OpenAI are in talks on a $10 billion plus tie-up centered on chips and cloud. OpenAI hired former UK Chancellor George Osborne to steer government partnerships and the globe-spanning Stargate build-out. Google launched a UPI-linked credit card with Axis Bank inside Google Pay, aiming to widen access to credit in India. The UK's FCA is giving the green light to live tests while warning about systemic risks in agentic AI for banking, and China's MetaX IPO, up about 700%, shows just how hot the domestic AI chip race has become. Thanks for listening, and a quick disclaimer. This podcast was generated and curated by AI using my and my kids' cloned voices. If you want to know how I do it or want to do something similar, reach out to me at imad@ainewsin10.com. That's AI News in 10.com. See you all tomorrow.